The microplanar hybrid IEM has been gaining quite a bit of traction as of late. It arguably started with the Kiwi Years Quintet in its quad bridge configuration, and thereafter came the Moondrop Dusk, arguably the one that really popularized it. Thereafter, there were some notable releases such as Dunu's Braindance, Moondrop's own Meteor, my very own Crin-Ear Daybreak, and of course most recently we have Ziggurat's own Horizon. But one of the more underrated microplanar tribrids I feel comes from our very own C-lister, the Meyer Audio Sleevo SL224. Again, as named. So let's talk about it. So name aside, I'm just going to call this the 224. Why 224? Well, it comes in a 2-2-4 configuration. 2 dynamic drivers, 2 BAs, as well as 4 of these microplanar tweeters. For those of you who don't know, the microplanar tweeters I'm referring to basically look like balanced armature drivers, but instead of using a balanced armature, instead, they have coil windings on the diaphragm that makes it a planar magnetic driver. And at $269 MSRP, the 224 is one of, if not the cheapest IEMs to have 4 of these microplanar tweeters. The other interesting thing about the 224 is that yes, it uses 2 dynamic drivers, but not in the horizontally opposed way that we usually see on these kinds of IEMs. Rather, they have 2 different sized dynamic drivers, one 10mm and one 6mm. First, let's talk about the non-audio stuff, starting with the packaging. And quite honestly, if you have handled one Meyer Audio product, then you would probably be very familiar with the 224. It comes with a leather-wrapped zip case alongside 1 pair of foam tips, as well as 2 different styles of silicone tips, both of which in small, medium, and large. The cable feels very nice, no complaints even at this price range, but more importantly, it comes with an interchangeable termination, 3.5 single-ended, 4.4 balance, and more interestingly, a USB-C termination. The shell of the 224 is made out of plastic resin and comes with a mother-of-pearl faceplate, but unfortunately it's also a hollow resin shell, and at this point you all know my thoughts on the matter. It's not the most durable, so caveat emptor. The shell shape is pseudo-custom. That means it has quite a bit of contouring, there's a lot of curves, but it is a bit on the large chunky side. So for those of you with smaller ears, yes, this is a warning if you are ever considering the SL224. Now let's get right into the sound, and yes, the SL224 is a very, very well-tuned IEM coming in with a slightly tilted diffuse field-ish response. Yes, with a bass boost, but it sounds extremely natural with nothing really out of place. It is a tuning that is slightly leaning towards bright and a little bit towards the thinner side of things, especially if you compare it to something like, let's say, the Crin-Ear Daybreak, which may be slightly down tilted and darker sounding in comparison. The 224's 4 microplanar tweeters may sound a bit scary, but it does come off as very well controlled. Yes, it is a little bit spicy, but not to the point that I'll really consider it sibilant. If there's really one big nitpick that I would have with the 224, and that's with the bass physicality of it all. Yes, there is a slight bass boost, but it doesn't really carry that kind of power or authoritativeness that I've come to expect in a tuning like this. But really, that's all about preference, because someone like me may find the 224 a little bit light-footed. I would like a little bit more body and heft, but others would think that this may be completely perfect, and other meta-tuned sets might be too bassy for them instead. So even with our current sea of hybrid IEMs, especially with the microplanar hybrids, the SL224 still stands out as being one of the most naturally tuned ones out there. It's not as piercing sounding as the Braindance. The mids are more natural compared to the Meteor. I'm not going to talk about it with the Dusk because clearly I'm biased in that respect. And if you're someone who's looking for that microplanar zing, that specific timbre, then look no further than the 224 for your next consideration. Now let's talk about the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, why you should consider buying a 224 and why you shouldn't. You should if you're looking for a sound signature that is, yes, that of a tilted diffuse field response, extremely natural, but with a slight bass boost, as well as a little bit of an upper treble emphasis. On top of the usual accessories that you would expect at an IEM of this price point, you even get a USB-C termination, something I really haven't seen a lot nowadays. And the obvious, if you're someone who's looking to flex your drivers, then yes, this is one of the cheapest IEMs to have 4 of these glorious microplanar tweeters. And why shouldn't you consider a 224? Well, the shell is actually fairly big despite all of the pseudo custom contouring, so if you're someone with smaller ears, consider this a big warning. Durability also may be a concern considering the fact that it has a hollow resin shell, so if you do get one, don't drop it. In terms of the sound, while the 224 is tuned to the tilted diffuse field kind of signature, compared to a lot of other similar tunings out there, it is coming off a little bit bright and a little bit thin sounding. So if you're someone who's sensitive to that, consider one of the many other alternatives instead. But hey, you don't have to take my word for it. You can always try it out for yourself at The Hangout. We're located at 200 South Bridge Road in Chinatown. Come on down, grab a cup of coffee or an ice cream, and then ask for the 224. Try it out and then form your own opinions. And for those of you not privileged enough to be in Singapore, you can always grab us at hangout.audio, our online retail store. We ship globally and for free for orders over $30 US. This is Chronicle for the hangout.audio channel, and remember kids, if it's not on the list, it doesn't exist. See you next week.